As the sun rose over the small town of Maplewood, a soft glow lit up the streets and houses. One such house, nestled under a large oak tree, lived a girl named Ellie Jensen. Ellie was a cheerful 12-year-old with bright blue eyes and curly brown hair that danced around her face. She was excited but also a bit nervous about her first day at Maplewood Middle School. Starting a new school was always challenging, and Ellie wondered what it would be like. Ellie came from a close-knit family steeped in their Mormon faith. Her father, Mr. Jensen, was not only a loving dad but also a respected member of the community who owned the local school. This connection made Ellie feel both proud and apprehensive, proud that her father was well-loved but apprehensive because she didn't want anyone to think she was getting special treatment. Before this move, Ellie had lived in another town where she had many friends. They would ride bikes together, have sleepovers, and share secrets about their favorite books and dreams for the future. Leaving all of that behind for a new beginning felt daunting. At tea breakfast, Ellie sat at the table with her parents and younger brother, Sam. Her mother served pancakes with syrup and fresh fruit on the side. The comforting aroma wafted through the air as they ate together. "Are you ready for your big day?" her mom asked with an encouraging smile. "I think so," Ellie replied, fidgeting with her fork. "But what if nobody wants to be my friend?" Her father chuckled softly. "Just be yourself, Ellie. You have a kind heart. People will see that." Sam chimed in, trying to lighten the mood. "Yeah. Just don't tell them about all the times you tripped on your shoelaces last year." Ellie rolled her eyes but couldn't help but smile at her brother's teasing. After breakfast, Ellie walked to school with butterflies in her stomach. The building loomed ahead of her as students chatted and laughed in groups outside. She took a deep breath and reminded herself of her father's advice, to be herself. Once inside, she grabbed her schedule and cautiously made her way to her first class. English. As she entered the room, she noticed several students glancing in her direction. She hoped they were curious and friendly rather than judgmental. The teacher introduced her warmly. "Class, we have a new student today. This is Ellie Jensen." A few heads nodded politely while others seemed more interested in whispering among themselves during break time. Ellie decided to explore the cafeteria before finding a spot to sit down for lunch. IT was bustling with activity as students grouped around tables covered with colorful trays of food. As she scanned the room looking for an empty seat, she caught sight of some girls laughing loudly at a nearby table. "Look at that new girl," one of them sneered, peering over at Ellie as if she were some kind of insect under a microscope. Ellie's heart sank as she felt their eyes upon her. She tried her best to ignore them and moved towards another table where several other kids were chatting together. They looked more welcoming. "Hey there, mind if I sit?" she asked hopefully. A girl with bright pink hair shrugged but didn't respond directly. Instead, she leaned closer to her friends and whispered something that made them snicker again. Feeling rejected already wasn't how Ellie wanted to start. Her day at this new school as lunch continued. No one asked if they could sit with her or even talk to her much at all. To be why the end of lunch period, it didn't get better. Instead, it felt worse as a group of boys joined in on the laughter directed towards her when she accidentally knocked over her milk carton while trying to grab her backpack off the floor. The laughter rang in Ellie's ears like sharp bells. It hurt more than any physical pain could cause. With downcast eyes, she hurried out of the cafeteria feeling defeated but determined not to let it ruin everything. Just wide as she walked through the hallways between classes, thoughts raced through Ellie's mind about fitting in, and whether or not anyone would accept someone like her. The new girl who followed different customs because of her faith. Little did those kids know about who she really was or who else watched over their school every day from behind closed doors. As Ellie walked through the bustling hallways of Maplewood Middle School, she felt the weight of curious gazes on her. It was overwhelming. But what truly made her heart race was the looming presence of a group of students who seemed to thrive on making others feel small. This group consisted of 3 main bullies: Jenna, Tyler, and Mia, each with their own unique way of asserting their dominance over others. Jenna was the leader of the pack, a girl with long, straight blonde hair and an air of confidence that could easily be mistaken for arrogance. She dressed in the latest fashion trends and always wore a bright smile, but there was something sharp behind that smile. Jenna loved to make others laugh at her jokes, especially when those jokes came at someone else's expense. She thrived on attention and quickly learned that putting others down made her feel powerful. For Jenna, bullying wasn't just about being mean. It was about gaining status among her peers. Tyler, with his tousled brown hair and athletic build, was Jenna's right-hand man. He often stood back during their bullying sessions, laughing loudly but never initiating the attacks himself. Instead, he'd egg Jenna on with comments like, "Oh, that's classic," or, "You really got her good." His motivations were clear. He wanted to be part of the popular crowd and was willing to do whatever it took to keep his place close to Jenna. Deep down, he was insecure. Using Ellie as a target helped him feel stronger than he really was. Mia rounded out the trio. She was quieter than Jenna and Tyler, often lurking in the background with her dark curls framing her face. While she didn't speak much, her eyes sparkled with mischief whenever Jenna made a cutting remark. Mia enjoyed the thrill of being part of the group and would often share hushed whispers with Jenna about who they should target next. Though she didn't have the same flair for insults as Jenna did, she contributed by spreading rumors or making snide comments when she knew others were listening. The three of them spotted Ellie almost immediately after she entered the cafeteria. To them, she was an easy target, the new girl who had already shown signs of vulnerability by sitting alone and not knowing anyone. They exchanged glances, filled with mischief, and Jenna's smile widened as though an exciting game had just begun. "Look at that girl," Jenna said loudly across the cafeteria, drawing attention to Ellie as they moved closer. "Isn't she cute with her little Mormon dress? Bet she thinks she's so special." Her voice dripped with mockery, and laughter erupted from the surrounding tables. The sound echoed around Ellie like a chorus of daggers. Ellie felt heat rise in her cheeks as she looked down at her clothes. Her dress was modest and traditional, an expression of her family's values, but it suddenly felt like a glaring neon sign notifying everyone that she was different. "A perfect mark for bullying," Tyler chimed in. "What's wrong? Have you never seen a cafeteria before? You look lost? Need a map?" His laughter mixed with Jenna's created a cruel symphony that filled Ellie's ears with dread. Mia stood slightly apart from them, crossing her arms but grinning as she watched Ellie squirm under their verbal barrage. The moment felt electric for them. It fueled their sense of belonging and relevance in a world where they often felt inadequate themselves. "Maybe we should help her find some friends, or maybe just send her back to where she came from," Jenna quipped, smirking at Tyler as they all laughed again. Ellie's heartbeat raced as she tried to focus on finding a table far away from them. The laughter echoed in her mind like a haunting melody. It stung more than any physical blow could. She thought about her father. What would he say if he saw this? Would he intervene? Ellie took one last look at the bullies before escaping to a corner table where only a few other students sat scattered about. Although they were also quiet and solitary, at least they weren't throwing insults or cruel. Laughter at her as lunch went on and the bullies continued their antics at another table. Ellie could feel their eyes occasionally darting in her direction. Their presence loomed over her like dark clouds ready to unleash a storm. It made every moment tense and uncomfortable. Little did they know that their actions wouldn't go unnoticed forever, that there were unseen consequences lurking just beneath the surface of their cruel game. The next few days at Maplewood Middle School were a blur for Ellie, filled with the uncertainty of making friends and finding her place. Each day felt like an uphill climb, and as she settled into a routine, the shadows of Jenna, Tyler, and Mia grew longer. Their initial teasing had set the tone for what would become a tormenting cycle of bullying. On the second day of school, Ellie walked into the history classroom, her stomach fluttering with nerves as she found an empty seat. The room buzzed with chatter, and she could hear glimpses of laughter as she settled in. She felt someone nudge her shoulder from behind. It was Jenna. "Wow! Did you get that dress from a thrift shop?" Jenna exclaimed loud enough for several nearby students to overhear. Laughter erupted around them. Ellie's cheeks flushed deep red. She had chosen her dress carefully that morning, wanting to be true to her family's values while hoping to fit in. Now it felt like a target on her back. "I like it," a soft voice from a classmate at the front whispered supportively. But Jenna seized the moment again, leaning in closer and saying with disdain, "You really shouldn't wear things that make you stand out so much. You want to blend in, right?" Ellie looked down at her desk, wishing she could vanish into thin air. The kind words from the girl in front felt lost amid Jenna's harsh laughter as class started. Ellie tried to focus on the teacher's voice instead of the whispers behind her. However, every time she heard giggles or saw snickers exchanged among her classmates, it was like a cold finger inching around her heart. The lunch period brought more challenges. Ellie approached the cafeteria cautiously, surveying the sea of tables filled. With students already forming their cliques, trying to find a welcoming spot was like searching for treasure in a vast ocean. Each group seemed closed off and unconcerned about newcomers. She spotted a table with a few other girls who seemed nice enough but hesitated before approaching them. Would they welcome her, or would she be met with silence? Just as she made up her mind to sit down, Jenna spotted her from across the room. "Hey everyone, look who's brave enough to eat lunch alone," Jenna blurted out loud enough for everyone to hear. Tyler roared with laughter as Mia added with glee. "Maybe she's trying to train to be a hermit." Giggling erupted all around them. Ellie's heart sank once more as she took a step back, feeling the heat rise in her face. A couple of students at that table shot her sympathetic glances but looked away quickly, unsure how to respond. Or perhaps afraid to get involved, Ellie's hands trembled slightly as she navigated through the crowd before finally finding a corner table where a few other quiet kids Saturday they didn't seem interested in chatting either. With heads bent over their trays or phones, it felt more like another lonely lunch than anything else. Days turned into weeks, and each interaction became increasingly painful for Ellie. In gym class one day, she tripped during a relay race after trying to keep up with faster classmates. Instead of concern or support from those around her, Jenna shouted mockingly, "Careful not to break your ankle. We wouldn't want you missing your dress-up event." The way everyone laughed made Ellie feel small. It was as if every eye was trained on her embarrassment, underlining just how different she was to them. Her stomach twisted tight. The weight of humiliation pressed against her chest until it threatened to consume her whole. Ellie had always been optimistic and resilient. She'd faced challenges before, but this felt different. Each taunt chipped away at her spirit like waves eroding a shoreline until nothing else remained but raw nerves. One afternoon, after gym class, as Ellie lingered by her locker trying not to think about the day's events too deeply, Mia sidled up next to her without warning. "What's wrong? Too shy to make any friends?" Mia sneered casually before walking away with Tyler and Jenna in tow. Ellie shut her locker door slowly and leaned against it for support as tears brimmed in her eyes. Friends? She wasn't even sure anyone wanted her around. If only they understood who she truly was and what being part of their community meant. Instead, each remark felt like another brick added to an invisible wall erected around her heart. That night at home, Ellie shared snippets about school with her family over dinner, but carefully avoided mentioning any names. Her parents were supportive and encouraging but couldn't grasp how alone she felt amidst teasing and exclusion. How each verbal jab cut deeper than they might ever know. If only she could muster enough courage to confront those bullies. But also fear loomed large. What if things escalated? What if she'd have no one left who could help? Little did she know that change was coming. One rainy afternoon, after another excruciating day at school, Ellie found solace walking home from the bus stop. The gentle pitter-patter of raindrops on her umbrella provided a soothing rhythm that momentarily distracted her from the heavy thoughts clouding her mind. She worried about the bullies and their taunts, but deep down, there was something else weighing on her heart. The feeling of isolation was starting to take its toll. As Ellie approached her family's modest home, she caught a glimpse of her father's familiar silhouette working in his study through the window. Mr. Jensen was a tall man with kind eyes and a gentle demeanor. He always seemed to know just what to say to make people feel better. He ran Maplewood Middle School, not just as a job but as a passion. Education was important to him, and he dedicated his life to ensuring that every child felt welcomed, valued, and understood. Upon entering the house, Ellie hung up her wet coat and set her dripping umbrella aside. The comforting smell of homemade vegetable soup wafted through the air as she made her way into the kitchen, where her mother was busy preparing dinner. "Hi, sweetheart. How was school today?" her mom asked cheerfully, turning around with a bright smile. Ellie hesitated for a moment, wanting to share her struggles but not wanting to worry her mother. "It was fine," she replied softly as she sat down at the table. Her mother gave her a concerned look, clearly sensing that something was off. "I can tell when you're not being truthful, Ellie," her mom said gently. "You know you can talk to me about anything." Just then, Mr. Jensen walked into the kitchen with an air of warmth that filled the room instantly. He rubbed his hands together to dry them off before asking, "What's cooking? My favorite chefs?" Ellie's face brightened slightly at his presence. "Just some soup," Mr. Jensen ruffled Ellie's hair playfully. He always knew how to lighten the mood. "Let me tell you something," he said, leaning against the counter with an easy smile. "I had a meeting today with several teachers about the importance of kindness and respect among our students." He paused for effect and added, "As we get older, it's crucial to treat others well, because everyone is facing their own challenges." Ellie listened intently as he spoke. Those words both resonated with her and made her heart ache in memory of Jenna's cruel remarks. Mr. Jensen continued, "I want our school to be a place where anyone, no matter how different they may seem, can feel safe and appreciated." His genuine passion filled the room with hope as he shared how proud he was of being able to positively impact young lives. At that moment, something shifted within Ellie. Her father's dedication reminded her that she wasn't alone in this fight. There were adults who cared deeply about the well-being of students like herself. The conversation continued as Mrs. Jensen joined in discussing community initiatives that would promote friendship and support among classmates at school. Ellie wanted desperately to share what she had experienced but feared it would only add extra weight on their shoulders or somehow reflect poorly on her father's school. However, when Mr. Jensen glanced over at Ellie with sincere curiosity in his eyes, she felt an urge rise within her. She needed him to understand what was happening to her without revealing too much for now. "Dad," she began cautiously, "you know how some kids say things that hurt others. I think we need more activities for kids who feel left out." He looked thoughtful for a moment before responding warmly, "That's such an insightful idea. Maybe we could organize some fun events where students can showcase their talents and build friendships." Ellie felt hopeful for a moment but then steeled herself against the reality she faced at school each day. Could something like that truly help? She imagined a place away from bitter laughs and disdainful looks. A celebration of differences rather than ridicule. Just then, Mrs. Jensen interrupted with a laugh. "Can we set this up during lunch break?" "That sounds perfect," Mr. Jensen exclaimed with enthusiasm. They continued to brainstorm ideas as Ellie quietly absorbed their love for each other and their determination to make things better. Little did she know that soon enough there would come a time when Mr. Jensen's connection as the school's owner would shield Ellie in an unexpected way, a way that would force Jenna and her crew to face consequences for their actions, while allowing Ellie's voice finally be heard amidst the storm. As the days turned into weeks, Ellie's experiences at Maplewood Middle School continued to weigh heavily on her spirit. The constant taunting from Jenna, Tyler, and Mia had become a painful routine, each day bringing new challenges that chipped away at her confidence. But it was on a stormy Wednesday afternoon that the situation escalated dramatically, pushing Ellie to the brink. That day, the sky was overcast with dark clouds that mirrored Ellie's mood.in gym class. They were playing dodgeball, a game she usually enjoyed but had grown to dread because of the way Jenna and her friends would mock her as the game began. She positioned herself toward the back of the court, hoping to avoid being targeted. However, it seemed to do little good. When a ball flew toward her, Ellie hesitated for a split second before being hit squarely in the chest. The impact knocked the air from her lungs and sent her stumbling backward. Instead of concern or empathy from her classmates, laughter erupted from Jenna and Tyler. "Nice catch," Tyler shouted sarcastically, his laughter ringing through the gym like a cruel bell. Ellie felt tears sting her eyes but blinked them away, determined not to let them see how much their words hurt. She quickly picked herself up and tried to rejoin the game, but her heart raced with anxiety as she felt their eyes on her. Just then, Jenna called out, "Hey everyone! Let's get Ellie out of this game for good." With that, she threw the next ball directly at Ellie's head with force. The ball struck her hard, sending her crashing to the ground again. The laughter grew louder as Ellie lay there, humiliated and overwhelmed. "Looks like she can't handle it," Mia chimed in with a sneer. The other students' smirks made Ellie feel like she was shrinking right then and there. With newfound determination coursing through her veins, Ellie pushed herself up again. She knew she couldn't stay silent anymore. It was time to finally speak out against the bullies. She walked off the court in defeat. She caught a glimpse of an empty hallway and made her way toward it, needing to collect herself. Once outside the gym doors, Ellie leaned against the cool wall and took deep breaths to calm herself. A wave of anger surged within her. She was tired of feeling powerless and alone. Standing there in the quiet hallway away from prying eyes, thoughts raced through her mind about who could help her navigate this nightmare. Her father's words echoed in her head about kindness and respect among students. He had built a school where everyone should feel safe and valued. It suddenly struck her. She had a powerful ally in Mr. Jensen, but doubt crept in alongside that realization. Would he believe her? Would he see her as weak for not being able to stand up for herself? As those thoughts battled in her mind, she felt frustration bubble over. Frustration not only at Jenna and her friends but at herself for letting it get this far without speaking up. Sighing deeply, she decided right then that she couldn't face another day like this without taking action. After school ended that day, Ellie hesitated outside of her father's office. Uncertainty gripped her stomach tightly as she chewed on her lip nervously. Gathering every ounce of courage within herself, she knocked softly on the door. "Come in," Mr. Jensen called gently from inside. Ellie opened the door cautiously to find him sitting behind his desk with papers scattered everywhere, and a warm smile breaking through his stress. He looked up confused before noticing something was off about Ellie's demeanor. "Hey there, is everything all right?" He stood up and stepped around his desk as concern washed over his face. She hesitated again but then took a deep breath, finding strength in his reassuring presence. "Dad, I need to talk to you about something really important, something that's been happening at school." As she spoke about the bullying from Jenna and her friends, the dodgeball incident still fresh in her mind, her voice wavered slightly but grew stronger with each word. Mr. Jensen listened intently while his expression shifted from concern to determination as he fully grasped the level of hurt Ellie had been experiencing. "I'm so sorry you've been going through this," he said gently while placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "No one should have to endure bullying." Ellie looked up at him, feeling lighter than before as he continued speaking about how they could work together to address these issues at school creatively and effectively. For the first time since the bullying had begun, Ellie felt a spark of hope ignite within her, a hope that perhaps change was finally on its way. Little did they both know just how significant this conversation would be for not only Ellie, but also for all students at Maplewood Middle School. As Ellie stood in her father's office, the weight of her feelings began to lift with each word she spoke about the bullying. Mr. Jensen listened intently, his brow furrowing as she recounted the hurtful moments that had plagued her at school. The memory of Jenna's taunts and the laughter of other students echoed in her mind, but looking into her father's kind eyes brought a sense of comfort that she desperately needed. "Dad," she said, her voice wavering slightly, "it's been really hard for me that I try to brush it off and act like it doesn't bother me. But it does. I feel so lonely and left out." Mr. Jensen placed his hands on the desk, leaning in closer as he absorbed every word Ellie shared. "I'm so sorry you're feeling this way, sweetheart," he said softly. "It's truly not easy to be in such a situation." He paused for a moment and then added, "No one should have to go through bullying." Ellie nodded, gratitude swelling within her. Finally, someone understood the depth of her pain. "I thought maybe if I wore different clothes or acted a certain way, things would change," she said. "But instead, they just keep coming after me." Her father took a deep breath as if weighing his words carefully before speaking again. "It's important to remember that bullying often comes from people who are insecure themselves," he explained gently. "They might feel powerful by making others feel weak, but that doesn't excuse their behavior." Ellie listened closely, feeling a sense of empowerment begin to blossom within her. She realized that Jenna and the others were acting out of their own insecurities. It didn't make what they did right, but understanding their motivations helped ease some of the hurt. "Ellie," Mr. Jensen continued, "it takes great courage to speak up and ask for help when we need it most. It's okay to lean on others when you're struggling." He leaned back slightly in his chair and smiled warmly. "I want you to know that even though I'm your dad, I am also your principal, and we can work together on this." His words provided Ellie with a newfound strength. She had hesitated to bring up her struggles because she feared it would reflect poorly on him as an educator or that he might see her as weak for needing help. But now it felt like they could tackle this challenge together. "Maybe we can organize an assembly or some activities where students can talk about kindness and respect," Ellie suggested hesitantly, still feeling unsure of herself. "That's an excellent idea," Mr. Jensen exclaimed enthusiastically, pride radiating from him as he nodded along with her suggestions. "We can create programs that promote inclusion and understanding among all students, something that allows everyone to share their experiences without fear." Ellie's heart soared at the thought of being part of a solution rather than just a victim of bullying. With each passing moment in this conversation, she felt more empowered and less alone. But what if they retaliate? What if Jenna and her friends get mad? Ellie asked nervously. Mr. Jensen held up a hand reassuringly. We will make sure all students understand that retaliation will not be tolerated. It's important they know there are consequences for their actions. He paused thoughtfully before adding, the best thing we can do is foster a culture where everyone feels safe speaking out. Bullying has no place in our school community. Ellie felt lighter after speaking with her father, like a burden had been lifted from her shoulders, and for the first time in weeks, hope replaced the despair she had carried around with her daily. Now, Mr. Jensen continued with encouragement in his voice. How about we brainstorm more ideas together? Perhaps we can set up small groups where students can connect based on their interests or experiences. Ellie smiled widely as they delved into planning ideas. A mix of fun activities along with opportunities for students to express themselves while ensuring everyone felt included. Time slipped away as they discussed potential themes for assemblies and activities focused on kindness and acceptance within the school community. The comfort of working alongside someone she trusted fortified Ellie's resolve. She would no longer hide from bullies, but instead help create an environment where compassion ruled over cruelty. Little did they both know how much impact their partnership would have on Maplewood Middle School. Not just for Ellie, but for countless other students who desperately needed support. After their productive conversation about addressing bullying at Maplewood Middle School, Mr. Jensen wasted no time taking action. The next morning, he called an emergency meeting with key school staff, including the guidance counselor and the principal of the lower grade levels, to discuss Ellie's situation and create a solid plan. As he strode into the meeting room, Mr. Jensen carried with him an air of determination that commanded attention. Thank you all for being here on short notice. He began, his voice steady yet firm. We need to talk about a serious issue that's affecting our students' well-being, bullying. The room fell silent as the staff exchanged glances, some nodding in understanding while others shifted uncomfortably. Mr. Jensen went on to explain what Ellie had shared with him about her experiences with Jenna, Tyler, and Mia. He emphasized that this behavior was unacceptable and needed immediate intervention. We cannot let our students feel unsafe or unwelcome at school, he continued passionately. It is vital that we foster an environment of kindness and support. I want to set up a meeting with the bullies to address their behavior directly and make it clear that this kind of treatment will not be tolerated. The guidance counselor spoke up first. I agree, but we need to ensure this is handled carefully. We don't want to escalate things further by making them feel attacked. I understand your concerns, Mr. Jensen replied, acknowledging her perspective. However, if we simply ignore these actions or allow things to continue unchallenged, we send a message that bullying is permissible here. After discussing various strategies, they decided to hold a meeting that would include not only Jenna, Tyler, and Mia but also their parents. The objective was to share how their actions affected Ellie and other students while promoting accountability and empathy. Later that afternoon, Mr. Jensen called Jenna's parents first to explain the situation calmly and respectfully. I want to share some troubling reports regarding Jenna's behavior at school. He began politely over the phone. He carefully narrated Ellie's experiences without assigning blame initially, but emphasizing the seriousness of what had been reported. To his relief, Jenna's parents were receptive and expressed concern about their daughter's behavior. They agreed it was essential to have an open discussion in person, with each family invited for the meeting feeling equally invested in their children's growth. Mr. Jensen felt hopeful for the upcoming sessions. Conversations rooted in empathy could lead to understanding, if done right. On the day of the meeting, he prepared an outline based on strategies discussed with his staff. First, listening attentively as Ellie shared her story in front of her father, followed by inviting each of the bullies to reflect on how they viewed their actions under those circumstances. Finally, guiding potential solutions as a group concerning respectful conduct moving forward. Ellie arrived at school that day feeling slightly nervous yet empowered, knowing she wouldn't face this challenge alone anymore. As they gathered in the conference room post-lunch, she saw Jenna sitting there with Tyler and Mia beside her, all looking mildly apprehensive as if realizing for the first time the true weight of their actions. Thank you all for coming today. Mr. Jensen initiated the meeting while gesturing respectfully for everyone's attention. Once settled comfortably in chairs around a circular table, he opened up with gentle encouragement. Ellie has graciously agreed to share her perspective. With renewed strength coursing through her veins upon hearing her father's encouragement, she stood tall before them and told her story candidly about how their words had hurt her deeply while expressing her fears of rejection alongside longing for acceptance at school. To her surprise, once she concluded speaking, the atmosphere shifted in remarkable ways. There was silence for what felt like eternity until Jenna spoke softly. "I didn't realize." Tyler chimed in hesitantly as well. "I thought it was just a joke." The realization washed over them like cold water splashing across their proud facades. They hadn't comprehended their power over someone else's feelings until now. After showing empathy towards Ellie firsthand through these realizations gained collectively, a breakthrough began to emerge as both students recognized they could work together toward creating a supportive culture rather than continuing cycles of cruelty. Mr. Jensen guided them through discussions surrounding consequences but added that part of cultivation involved rebuilding bridges instead of constructing more walls between each other moving forward. That as hope sparkled between them throughout those discussions, it was clear this was more than just another day at Maplewood Middle School. They had begun the journey toward healing relationships broken through overlooked kindness all along. On the day of the meeting, tension filled the air as everyone seated in the small conference room at Maplewood Middle School gathered for a pivotal discussion. Ellie sat at one end of the rectangular table, feeling a mix of anxiety and determination. She could see Jenna, Tyler, and Mia across from her. Their expressions a blend of apprehension and guilt. Each was flanked by their parents, who looked equally uneasy about the forthcoming conversation. Mr. Jensen stood at the head of the table, radiating calm confidence as he introduced the purpose of the meeting. "Thank you all for coming today. We're here to address some serious issues regarding bullying that have been affecting not just Ellie, but the entire school community." As everyone nodded in understanding, Ellie felt her heart race. She was grateful for her father's strong presence, knowing that he would guide this conversation with care. Mr. Jensen gestured toward Ellie and said, "I'd like to start by allowing Ellie to share her thoughts and experiences. This is a safe space to discuss how words and actions can affect others deeply." With encouragement from her father's warm gaze, Ellie took a deep breath and began to speak. "I want you to know that I tried really hard to fit in," she said, her voice steadying as she looked at the bullies directly. "But every time I see you guys laughing or making fun of me, it hurts more than you realize." She paused, gathering her emotions as she recounted incidents that lingered in her mind. The dodgeball game, being made fun of for her clothes, and feeling utterly alone during lunch. Her words poured out with sincerity, painting a vivid picture of the pain she had endured. Jenna shifted uncomfortably in her seat as Ellie spoke, her earlier bravado beginning to fade with every heartfelt confession from Ellie. Tyler watched intently, his demeanor shifting from arrogance to an unspoken acknowledgement of the impact their actions had caused. Once Ellie finished sharing, Mr. Jensen stepped in again with thoughtful authority. "It's important that we explore how actions like these disrupt not only individual lives but also the fabric of our community. Jenna, Tyler, and Mia, can you please share what you've heard from Ellie and how it makes you feel?" There was silence for a moment before Jenna finally spoke hesitantly. "I didn't really think it was so bad when we were joking around." She looked down at the table. "I thought we were just having fun. I thought it was just teasing," Tyler added slowly, more defensively than he wanted to admit. "I never thought about how it might make someone feel." Mia crossed her arms tightly, frustration battling discomfort within her. "I didn't mean to hurt you. It was just fun to join in." Her words barely masked her unease. Mr. Jensen listened carefully before responding. "While it's common for children to make jokes without thinking about consequences, it's important to recognize that actions have weight behind them. Teasing can quickly become bullying when someone else feels threatened or hurt." The atmosphere grew heavier as Jenna noticed how Ellie's bravery in speaking out forced them to confront their own shortcomings. It wasn't just Ellie who was emotional. Parents listened with growing concern as they heard their children acknowledge their missteps. "Parents," Mr. Jensen continued earnestly, turning his attention back to them, "it's vital that we address this as allies for our children. Encouraging open dialogues about empathy and respect within your families can play an essential role in shaping positive behavior." Jenna's mom spoke up first, her voice trembling slightly as she regarded her daughter. "Jenna, I'm proud of you for coming forward today. I know how difficult this is." She glanced around at everyone before continuing. "This is a learning moment for us all. I would never want you to feel hurt." Tyler's dad added earnestly after a brief moment of silence. As the discussion unfolded more openly between Ellie's family and the Bullies' families alike, parents expressing regret while affirming commitment toward facilitating healthier interactions, Ellie felt a flicker of hope igniting within her. "Maybe we can work together on something that helps all students feel included," Mr. Jensen proposed as they wrapped up their session. The energy shifted from uncertainty to cooperation as various ideas floated around, discussing initiatives centered on community building and addressing bullying directly through educational programs. The atmosphere transformed slowly into one poised for healing rather than hurt. Before leaving the room, Jenna spoke up once more with genuine hesitance in her voice. "I'm sorry, Ellie, truly." Tyler nodded in agreement while Mia added softly, "Me too." Ellie offered them a small smile. Although time would tell if words would lead to action, it felt like progress was brewing amid everyone present as their meeting concluded with pledges towards kindness and accountability echoing among them. Everyone left inspired while wishing to forge ahead together, not merely understanding mistakes made but actively striving for change moving forward within Maplewood Middle School. In the days following the meeting, the atmosphere at Maplewood Middle School began to shift in noticeable ways. The tension that once hung over the hallways seemed to dissipate as students started engaging in conversations about kindness and respect, inspired by the recent discussions. Ellie felt a tentative hope blossoming within her. Perhaps things could change for the better. Jenna, Tyler, and Mia found themselves reflecting on their actions more deeply than ever before. Each of them had faced a shift in perspective, sparked by Ellie's brave confrontation. Jenna, who had always thrived on being the center of attention through her sharp wit and quick insults, began to feel a twinge of guilt whenever she thought back on how her words had hurt Ellie. One afternoon, while sitting in a cafe with friends after school, Jenna surprised everyone by sharing her thoughts. "You know," she said hesitantly, "I didn't realize how much my jokes affected Ellie. I thought we were just having fun." Her friends exchanged glances but encouraged her to continue. I never meant for it to hurt her," she admitted quietly. Meanwhile, Tyler was grappling with his role as Jenna's sidekick. He had always thought that going along with Jenna's jokes made him part of something cool, a way to fit in with the popular crowd. But now he recognized that it had come at Ellie's expense. He approached Jenna later that week and shared his feelings. "Maybe we should reach out to Ellie and apologize," he suggested cautiously. Mia was initially hesitant to get involved. She had enjoyed being part of the group but felt overshadowed by Jenna's strong personality. However, she too began to feel guilty for not standing up against the bullying when it occurred. As they discussed their feelings more openly, Jenna and Tyler encouraged Mia to join them in making amends. The trio decided together that they would approach Ellie during lunch one day when things were calmer and less chaotic than usual. When they spotted her sitting alone at a table with a book in hand, they exchanged nervous glances but steeled themselves for what needed to be done. "Hey, Ellie," Jenna said tentatively as they approached her table. Ellie looked up from her book, surprised to see them standing there. She felt an instinctive flutter of anxiety but then reminded herself of their recent meeting. Their understanding seemed genuine. "We wanted to talk," Tyler began, his voice uncharacteristically soft compared to his usual bravado. Ellie nodded slowly, unsure of how this encounter would unfold. Jenna took a deep breath and spoke first. "We just wanted to say we're really sorry for how we treated you before. It wasn't right." She glanced down at her shoes momentarily before continuing. "I didn't realize how hurtful my words were until you shared your story," Tyler chimed in next. "We never meant for you to feel alone or bullied. We just thought it was funny." He paused as he gathered his thoughts, knowing that admitting responsibility was crucial. "It wasn't funny at all." Ellie listened intently. Their sincerity struck a chord within her heart. It took immense courage for them to admit their wrongdoings directly. Mia stepped forward hesitantly as well. "I'm really sorry too," she added softly. "I should have stood up instead of just laughing along." The weight of their apologies washed over Ellie like a warm wave. She felt seen in a way she hadn't experienced before amid all the hurtful laughter and taunts. I appreciate you guys saying that, Ellie responded genuinely after letting their words sink in for a moment. It means a lot. Seeing this exchange unfold filled them all with relief. Perhaps they could work together toward building bridges rather than tearing each other down further. As days passed into weeks following their initial conversation, changes began manifesting throughout the school community even beyond what was happening at lunch tables. Initiatives led by Mr. Jensen flourished as students engaged positively with one another through new activities focused on friendship and understanding. Ellie spent time volunteering alongside Jenna, Tyler, and Mia during events promoting kindness across grade levels while encouraging younger students about empathy through collaborative projects aimed at fostering communication skills aimed towards healthier relationships. For Ellie specifically, this experience became transformative. No longer was she merely someone who faced bullying silently. Instead, she evolved into an advocate for change, someone who understood firsthand the importance of compassion while also finding strength within herself amidst adversity that once threatened her spirit outright. And reflecting upon these lessons learned from both sides, forgiveness emerged stronger than anger while awareness took root where only ignorance previously thrived, allowing friendships between former foes blossom anew amid Maplewood Middle School, a place where empathy now ruled over cruelty. As the weeks passed following the transformative meeting, the atmosphere at Maplewood Middle School continued to shift positively. The initiative spearheaded by Mr. Jensen took root, and students began to embrace a culture of kindness and empathy, fostering new friendships that blossomed from their shared experiences. Ellie found herself at the center of this change, not just as a former target of bullying but as an advocate for compassion. She spent more time with Jenna, Tyler, and Mia, who had all expressed genuine remorse for their previous actions and were eager to make amends. Their shared commitment to growth allowed them to form an unexpected bond. Together, they organized events that encouraged other students to share their stories and learn from one another. One afternoon during lunch, Ellie sat at a table filled with students from various grades, a mix of old friends and new faces that had come together through recent initiatives. The lively chatter filled the room as they discussed upcoming events. Kindness Week, they had planned, was on everyone's mind. Jenna leaned over to Ellie and said with a smile, "I can't believe how many people want to get involved. It feels like we're really making a difference." "Yeah," Ellie replied, her heart swelling with pride. "And it's amazing how everyone is coming together now." She glanced around the room, noticing groups of students chatting and laughing, something she once had only dreamed of experiencing. As Kindness Week approached, Ellie decided to take a lead role in organizing activities that promoted inclusivity. With the help of Jenna, Tyler, and Mia, they arranged workshops focused on empathy-building exercises where students could walk in each other's shoes. They invited guest speakers to discuss the importance of kindness in everyday life. On the first day of Kindness Week, Ellie felt the excitement crackling in the air as students gathered in the gym. Colorful banners adorned the walls, proclaiming messages like, "Choose kindness," and "Together we rise." The atmosphere buzzed with anticipation as Mr. Jensen welcomed everyone warmly. "Today marks the beginning of our journey toward fostering compassion," he said. "Let's embrace this opportunity to connect with one another." After his speech, Ellie took a step forward, feeling confident enough to speak in front of her peers. "I used to feel really alone," she began candidly. "But being here today reminds me that we can all grow together." Her words resonated throughout the room. She could see nods of agreement from classmates who had once avoided her or remained silent during her struggles. As the week progressed, Ellie noticed changes not just among her former bullies but also within other students who participated wholeheartedly. Friendships formed across cliques that had previously remained divided. Laughter echoed through hallways where once there was silence or cruelty. Jenna discovered that she enjoyed connecting with others. On a deeper level, she often teamed up with Ellie during workshops and helped design inclusive activities that brought laughter instead of ridicule. Tyler became known for his encouragement during group discussions and even reached out to classmates who seemed shy or uncertain about joining in. Mia found herself stepping out of her comfort zone too. She began befriending younger students in after-school programs, guiding them through various projects while cheering them on along the way. The culmination of their efforts arrived with a closing ceremony at which Ellie spoke again about how far they'd come as a school community since starting these initiatives. "We've learned that every act of kindness counts," she said earnestly. and together we can create an environment where no one feels left out or hurt. As she scanned the audience filled with smiling faces, including those of Jenna's, Tyler's, and Mia's parents who came out to support their children, Ellie felt an overwhelming sense of belonging wash over her. The end of Kindness Week. Jenna approached Ellie with genuine gratitude shining in her eyes. "Thank you for believing we could change," she said softly. "You inspired us all." Ellie smiled back warmly. This journey had transformed not only her own perspective but also those around her, and it illuminated the importance of forgiveness and connection among peers. Reflecting upon this remarkable evolution within Maplewood Middle School, where friendships flourished amid empathy, Ellie knew they had successfully turned a painful chapter into an inspiring story of resilience and hope for all its students. As Ellie sat on her bed that evening, reflecting on the events of the past few weeks, she marveled at the incredible transformations happening around her. Maplewood Middle School had become a community where kindness flourished and friendships grew in places once overshadowed by fear and isolation. She felt grateful, not just for the changes at school but for everything that had led her here. And remembering how much she had suffered from bullying, Ellie couldn't help but think back to those darker moments when it felt like the world weighed heavily on her shoulders. There were days when she had woken up not wanting to go to school, dreading what might await her in the hallways or cafeteria. But now she realized that those struggles had been stepping stones, leading her to find her voice and strength. Gathering courage to speak with her father, Mr. Jensen, had been a pivotal moment that changed everything. That heart-to-heart had demonstrated to Ellie how vital it is to stand up for oneself, to not allow fear of judgment or ridicule to silence one's truth. It's easy to hide behind feelings of shame. It takes true bravery to confront darkness and seek help. Ellie also acknowledged the importance of forgiveness, the way Jenna, Tyler, and Mia humbly approached her after realizing how deeply their words had stung. Their growth surprised her. They went from being bullies to advocates by embracing empathy and learning from their mistakes. This experience taught Ellie that even those who might hurt us have the capacity for change if given the chance. With a sense of pride swelling within her, Ellie reflected on how these new friendships transformed not just her life but also encouraged others at school, encouraging them all towards understanding instead of hatred. She saw people stepping out of their comfort zones, reaching out across divides they once thought unbridgeable. Sitting up straighter on her bed now, she cherished thoughts of Jenna alongside her in organizing Kindness Week activities, an unexpected partnership built on mutual respect rather than animosity. Flyer designs filled with cheerful slogans adorned sunny classrooms while students eagerly participated in workshops focused on sharing feelings and stories. Seeing classmates grow closer filled Ellie's heart with warmth. Encouraging communication through vulnerability offered everyone an essential healing path forward. Ellie understood that embracing such courage wouldn't always come easily, a notion beautifully echoed during their closing ceremony for Kindness Week, when she spoke about every act of kindness counting and sharing how connections formed could provide strength amid adversity. The love and support from her family played critical roles in this transformation as well. Her father especially acted as both protector and mentor throughout challenging moments and ultimately guided Ellie toward finding empowerment amidst darkness surrounding bullying experiences overall. His unwavering presence in advocating love over tearing down one another served as shining examples for everyone else involved too. The importance of approaching each day with intentionality rather than malice could forge healthier environments altogether. As Ellie prepared for bed that night, a gentle expression graced her face. She took a moment thanking every person who'd entered this journey, be it fellow survivors struggling like herself, or those striving towards accountability after reflecting upon their wrongdoings together. All uniting under shared encouragement resonating throughout each interaction moving forward now. The culmination represented more than just overcoming fears. It embodied resilience rooted within communities willing not only demanding compassion but actually practicing it daily anew. Maplewood Middle School no longer merely defined by pain people endured. It blossomed fully into haven driven through light guiding warmth woven between interactions coupled wholly with restored hope found where vulnerability met strength head-on shifting every relationship opened up via simple acts spreading positivity everywhere there. In savoring these reflections, the new friendships formed loud laughter ringing brightly through corridors replaced sorrow accompanied once before no longer befitting any future present hereafter. Understanding kindled deeper connections regardless differences, paving paths leading toward impactful change benefiting entire student body, unfolding well beyond boundaries originally perceived.